The human who dared enter the throne room. The throne room of Queen Zelvara was the most feared place in the Zinthari Empire. Its ceiling touched the sky. Its black stone walls shimmered with alien starlight. Warriors with glowing spears stood silent, like statues of death. No human had ever walked in here and survived. But today, a young human named Elias walked in. Alone. He wore a simple coat, dusty from travel. No armor. No weapon. Just a translator device clipped to his collar and a calm look in his eyes. His heart beat fast, but his steps did not shake. Queen Zelvara sat on her high throne. Her wings were folded behind her, glowing purple eyes watching the human below with sharp interest. Her long silver claws tapped against the armrest. Beside her, alien generals chuckled and whispered. "You may speak," she said at last, voice smooth like glass over ice. Elias bowed slightly, respectful but not afraid. "I bring a proposal of peace," he said, "and trade between your empire and Earth." A few generals laughed. One shouted, "Peace? From a species with bones that break like sticks?" Even the queen smirked. "Humans," she said, always dreaming bigger than their strength allows. "Tell me, little man, do you also dream of mating with a queen like me?" Laughter exploded around the throne. Elias didn't smile. He looked straight into her eyes. "No, your majesty," he said, "but one day you will carry the child of a human." Silence. Not a word, not a breath, moved in the throne room. Even the queen leaned forward, her smirk gone. "What did you say?" she whispered. "You mock human heirs," Elias said calmly. "But there will come a day when your blood and mine will mix, and the galaxy will never laugh at us again." Gasps echoed. A few guards raised weapons, but the queen lifted her hand. "Interesting," she said, voice cold. "I expected fear. Instead, you bring prophecy." She stood, tall, regal, dangerous. "Very well," she said. "You wish to impress me? Survive the warrior games?" "The what?" Elias asked. "A series of trials," the queen explained, walking down the steps of her throne. "Meant to test strength, intelligence, and will. Your kind is weak, soft. If you survive even one round, I will speak with you again. If you die, well, it's what I expect." Elias nodded slowly. "I accept." "Good," she said, leaning closer. "But do not mistake my curiosity for mercy. No human has lasted more than a minute. I don't expect you to be different." "That's your mistake," Elias said. "I didn't come here to be different. I came here to change everything." Later that night, the queen stood on her balcony, alone. Below, preparations for the warrior games had begun. Glowing torches lit the arena. Beasts roared in cages. Alien warriors trained under moonlight. She held a glass of glowing wine, watching the human from far away. He walked through the palace, garden like he belonged there. He stopped at a flower, touched its petal gently. "Strange," she whispered to herself. A servant stepped forward. "Should we prepare a cell for the human, your majesty?" She thought for a moment, then smiled, slightly. "No," she said. "Give him a guest chamber. Let him rest." The servant hesitated. "But he's just a human." "Exactly," the queen said softly. "And yet he dared to speak of heirs and in my court." She looked at the stars. "Let's see how far this human dares to go." The warrior games. The arena was alive, giant. Stone gates opened one by one. Glowing fires lined the perimeter. Thousands of alien spectators filled the sky balconies, roaring with excitement. The warrior games had begun, and at the center of it all stood a human. Just one human. Elias. He wore no armor. His hands were wrapped in old cloth. A thin shield was strapped to his back. Compared to the alien champions, towering beasts with claws, horns, and armor that shimmered, he looked like a joke. Just as the queen had planned, Queen Zelvara sat high above in the royal seat, her sharp eyes watching every movement. Beside her were generals, diplomats, and nobles, all waiting for the human to be broken. "This will be short," a general muttered. "Humans are made for farming, not fighting." "He won't last a minute," another said. The queen said nothing. She just stared at Elias with quiet curiosity. The bell rang. Trial 1. The Death Beasts of Tyraka. 2 gates across the arena opened. Out charged creatures with spiked tails and jaws like bone crushers. The crowd screamed in excitement. Elias didn't run. Instead, he walked calmly toward the center, scanning the beasts. They were fast, yes, but not smart. Their pattern was predictable. They always charged straight, never turned fast. He dropped his shield. He picked up a loose chain from the arena floor, one used in earlier trials. It was rusted, but strong, as the first beast charged. Elias timed it perfectly. He rolled to the side, looped the chain around its leg, and ran around a pillar. The beast yanked itself off balance and slammed into stone. The second beast came faster. Elias used the fallen shield as a ramp. He jumped, flipped over it, and landed on its back. One strike to the back of the neck, soft spot, and it went limp. The arena went silent for a second. Then, an explosion of cheers. "Impossible," someone whispered. He calculated the entire field. The queen narrowed her eyes. This was no random survivor. This was something else. Trial 2. The Mirror Warriors. 6 elite fighters entered the field, each trained in different alien, martial styles. Each stronger, faster, better armed. But Elias had studied. Not just muscles, minds. He waited, defended, moved just enough. He watched how they coordinated, how they always left one side exposed. In 7 minutes, they were all on the ground, breathing, but defeated. By the time the third trial was announced, half the court had stopped laughing. After the trials, Elias was brought back to the palace. Not to the servants' quarters, not to the prison, but to a room with glass walls, warm lights, and a silent alien servant who bowed to him. The queen had ordered it. She didn't come to see him that night. But she watched from her private chamber through hidden surveillance. He was meditating, calm, steady breath like a warrior, or a monk. "He's dangerous," one of her generals told her. "I know," she replied. "Then kill him." She shook her head slowly. "Not yet." The next morning, Elias was summoned to the queen's chamber. It was not the public throne room. It was her private court, where only high-ranking diplomats and blood family were allowed. The walls were made of living crystal, glowing vines wrapped around the pillars. It was beautiful and deadly. Queen Zelvara stood with her back to him, looking out at the twin moons. "You survived," she said. "Yes," he replied. "You impressed them. Did I impress you?" She turned to face him. "Not yet." He smiled slightly. "But you're curious," he said. Her expression didn't change, but her silence was enough. "Why did you come here?" she asked. "Because Earth needs allies," he answered. "And because you think we are weak. Aren't you?" "No," he said firmly. "We're just underestimated." They stared at each other. Two rulers from two very different worlds. "You spoke of heirs," she said suddenly. "You dared speak of me, carrying your child?" "Yes," he said calmly. "And I meant it." She stepped closer, her wings twitching slightly. "Do you even understand what that would mean?" she asked, voice lower now. "My bloodline is pure. I've executed nobles for suggesting weaker mates." "Then execute me," Elias said, stepping forward. "But ask yourself first, why haven't you already?" The queen stared at him. For once, no words came. That night, the stars over the capital glowed red. It was a rare phenomenon, known to her people as the blood moon alignment. A time when emotions were heightened, when truth could not be hidden. The queen could not sleep. She paced in her chamber. Something about Elias unsettled her, not his strength, not his defiance, but the fact that part of her respected it. No human had ever stood before her without trembling. No warrior had spoken to her like an equal. And now, every word he said echoed in her mind. "You will carry the child of a human." Could it be prophecy, or madness, or something worse? Fate. She found herself walking toward his room. Alone. Unarmed. When she reached the door, she stopped. Her hand hovered above the control panel. Her heart, once cold, sharp, untouchable, beat a little faster. She didn't enter. Not yet. But she would. The night of the silver blood moon. A silver moon rose above the capital of Zintheria, casting soft light over the crystal towers and shadowed streets. Once every 50 years, this moon turned the skies white-silver, a rare cosmic event. Alien legends called it the Mirror Night, a time when truth revealed itself and lies turned to ash. In her royal chambers, Queen Zelvara stood still before a mirror made of star glass. It did not reflect her image. It showed her energy, flickering, uncertain, disturbed. She had not slept. The human had survived 3 trials. He had walked into her throne room and spoken of royal heirs, and now, on the night of truth, her mind, her heart, would not rest. She called out, her voice sharp but quiet. Bring him to the moon garden. Elias had been meditating when the guards arrived. He stood slowly, calm as ever, and followed them, without resistance. He knew something had changed. The palace halls were quieter. Servants bowed lower. Soldiers looked at him longer. The fear was fading, being replaced by something else, curiosity and respect. They led him to a hidden garden above the palace. It floated on a platform of glowing vines. Moonlight poured over silver flowers that opened only once a lifetime. The air was warm, peaceful. The queen stood in the center, alone. No throne. No guards. No crown. Just her. Do you know what night this is? She asked, not turning around. Mirror night, Elias answered. And what does that mean to you? That truth can't hide. Zelvara finally turned to face him. Her eyes glowed softer than usual. Her claws were uncovered. Her wings relaxed. You are a strange creature, she said. So are you, he replied. For a moment, neither spoke. The wind whispered through the garden. I was raised to believe humans were little more than clever animals, she said. Useful in trade, weak in battle, amusing sometimes, disposable always. And now, she hesitated. I see something different. Something dangerous. Elias stepped closer. You're not afraid of danger. I'm not, she agreed, but I fear prophecy, and you speak like a prophecy. He stopped beside her. Not too close, not too far. Do you believe in destiny? He asked. I believe in control, power, bloodlines. I believe my child must be stronger than me, faster, unbreakable. Then maybe it's time, he said. Your child was also wiser. Her eyes snapped to him. You dare suggest my heir be half human? I don't suggest, he said. I predict. Silence. But it wasn't empty. It was charged with something old, something deeper than war or peace, something alive. In the palace tower, unseen by either of them, a figure watched the moon garden through a telescope. It was General Rolkin, leader of the Queen's royal defense. He clenched his jaw. The rumors were true. The Queen was not just tolerating the human, she was bonding. She's falling into the prophecy, he growled. Behind him, a shadow emerged. A priest of the old order. Then we must act, before the heir becomes real. Back in the garden, the Queen and Elias now walked slowly among the glowing trees. It was strange, peaceful. When I first met you, she said, I thought you were just brave. Now, I think you're something else. What do you think I am? She didn't answer. Instead, she stopped at a small pool of silver water. The moon's light reflected off it like liquid fire. This is the womb spring, she whispered. My people believe the future can be seen in its reflection, when the blood moon and silver moon cross. What do you see? She looked. Her expression froze. Her eyes widened, just for a second. Then she stepped back quickly like the water had burned her. Elias rushed forward. What did you see? She turned away. Nothing, but her voice shook. She had seen it, a child, her child, but with human eyes. Later that night, she returned to her chamber, alone, again, but her hands trembled. Her people would never accept a human heir. The council would call her unfit, a traitor to her bloodline. But deep in her chest, something else whispered, "What if that's what we need?" She didn't realize it, but her hand rested on her stomach. A part of her already knew. In the shadows of the palace, General Ralkin met with the old priest and 5 other conspirators, warriors, council members, blood purists. "We cannot let this continue," Ralkin said. "The Queen's vision is clouded. This union, this human, will destroy the royal legacy. The prophecy speaks of a child who will unite the stars," the priest said. "If that child is born, the old power ends, and a new one begins. Then we must stop it," Ralkin said. "What will you do?" Ralkin's eyes glowed red. "I will kill the human and make sure no child is ever born." Meanwhile, Elias sat alone in his room. The moonlight reached through the crystal windows, covering the floor in silver. He closed his eyes, remembering her face, her voice, her doubt, her strength. He didn't know if she would ever accept him. He didn't know if she would ever love him. But he knew this. Something inside her had changed. And something inside him had too. Not just admiration. Not just strategy, but something real, he whispered to the night. "No matter what comes, I will protect her, and the child she's afraid to believe in." The secret that shook the court. Queen Zelvara woke before sunrise, breath shallow, body still. The dream had come again. It wasn't a nightmare. No blood, no war, only a single image. A child. Her child, with silver skin and human eyes. For weeks she had dismissed it. Now she couldn't. She stood slowly, walked to the mirror, and whispered a command. "Scan for genetic variants." The mirror hummed. A soft glow scanned her body. The answer appeared in alien glyphs. Her breath caught, pregnant. And the father was Elias. At that exact moment, Elias stood on the palace's high training ground alone, practicing silent movements. Balance, control, rhythm. He didn't know why he couldn't sleep. He only knew something was coming, a sound behind him, soft, hidden. He turned just as a blade swung toward his neck. Elias ducked, twisted, and tackled the attacker. A royal guard, not an assassin. This wasn't personal. This was political. More guards rushed in, weapons raised. Elias didn't fight to kill. He fought to survive. He flipped, blocked, dodged. The sky lit with early morning light as the palace alarm finally rang. A royal attack against a royal guest. Queen Zelvara stormed into the hall, eyes burning with rage. "Stand down," she roared, her voice cracking stone. The guards froze. Elias was bleeding from a cut across his ribs, but still standing, still breathing. "Who ordered this?" the queen demanded. No one spoke, but she already knew. By midday, the palace buzzed with whispers. "The queen is protecting the human," they say. She stopped the execution herself. Something's not right. She summoned her council to the throne room. 12 high-ranking nobles, warlords, advisors, the power behind the crown. They bowed, cold, watching. "You will speak freely today," she said, stepping down from the throne. "I want to hear your truths." Lord Ralkin spoke first. "Your Majesty, with respect, this human has distracted you, corrupted the court. Now there are rumors you carry a hybrid." Gasps. Even some guards looked up. The queen didn't blink. "And if the rumor is true?" she asked calmly. Ralkin clenched his jaw. "Then you carry a threat to the bloodline." "A threat?" she echoed, stepping closer. "Or a beginning?" "You were born to rule the stars," he growled, "not to fall for a primitive." The room went still, Silvara looked around. I have won wars, ended rebellions, rebuilt this empire from fire and ash. Have I not earned the right to choose? No one answered, so she dropped the truth. I am with child, she said. Dead silence. And that child is part of me. Part of him. She looked toward the chamber doors. And he is stronger than you think. The doors opened. Elias walked, in slowly, bandaged but tall, unbroken. He stood beside her. This is madness, another counselor said. The people will never accept it. Xelvara smiled coldly. Then the people will be reminded who their queen is. That night, in the temple of the Old Order, Ralkan and the priest met again. We failed to kill the human, Ralkan admitted. And now, she declares him the father of her heir. The priest lit black incense. Then there is only one path left. Remove the queen. Make it look like treason. Blame the human. A coup? Ralkan whispered. A cleansing. The priest replied. In her chambers, Xelvara sat beside Elias. For the first time, she looked tired. Not from war, but from fear. They will come for me now, she said. I've broken a sacred line. Then we'll break it completely, he said. She looked at him. You don't understand. They will burn cities to keep this empire pure. Then we fight, Elias said. She laughed softly, not mockingly, sadly. You're not afraid? Only of losing you. A long silence. Then she leaned forward and whispered, If I fall, promise me you'll protect the child. I won't let you fall, he replied. The next morning, a public address was called across the empire. For the first time in history, the queen stood with a human by her side. The people gathered, confused, nervous. She raised her hand. Today, I bring truth, she said. I am with child, and this child is not a mistake. He is the future. Some cheered. Some screamed. Soldiers stepped forward. Ralkan drew his blade. Traitor, he roared. You shame the blood of the throne. Xelvara stepped back. He charged. Elias moved faster. They clashed at the center of the plaza, human and alien, steel flashing under morning light. Ralkan was strong, trained, but Elias was something else. He didn't fight with anger. He fought with purpose. With every block, every strike, he wasn't defending himself, he was protecting the future. Finally, Elias disarmed Ralkan. The blade fell, but the queen lifted her hand. No death, she said. Not today. The crowd watched, silent. Silvara stood tall. This is our new beginning, she said. Then she placed her hand on her belly. And I will not hide it. Betrayals and bloodlines. For the first time in 1,000 years, the empire of Xentheria was divided. Half the cities celebrated Queen Xelvara's announcement, lighting silver fires in her name. The other half screamed betrayal. Across the stars, broadcasts played her words over and over. I am with child, and this child is the future. But in the shadows, plans were forming. In the deep chambers beneath the palace, General Ralkan wasn't in chains. He sat with nobles, warlords, and one of the queen's own cousins. We lost the public strike, Ralkan growled, but the child hasn't been born yet. It can still be undone. A voice spoke from the darkness. Not if she lives. No one argued. Queen Xelvara stood on the highest tower of her palace, the wind brushing against her armorless robe. She had not worn armor in days. Her people had seen her face. Now they had to see her strength without a mask, but she wasn't alone. Elias stood beside her, his gaze firm as he watched the horizon. The silence in the streets, he said. It's not peace. It's waiting. I know, she replied. They'll strike again. I know. Then she turned to him and placed a hand on his chest. And you'll still stand with me? He didn't speak. He just took her hand in his and nodded. 3 days later, a royal convoy carrying food to outer colonies was attacked. Not by rebels, but by elite palace forces who had defected. Half the guards were slaughtered. The survivors returned to the capital with a message carved into the ship's hull: pure blood or no blood. The High Council begged the Queen to renounce the child. Send it away after birth, they said. Let the bloodline remain intact. Xelvara stood slowly from her throne. You do not understand. This child is not a threat to the throne. He is the reason the throne still has meaning. But her voice trembled for the first time. After the meeting, she didn't speak to anyone for hours. Elias found her in the ancient Shrine of Queens, a quiet chamber filled with statues of past rulers. They all had one thing in common: alone. She stood in front of her mother's statue, silent. You were the strongest woman I knew, she whispered. But you would have hated this child. Elias didn't interrupt. They want me to choose between the Empire and my son. Then choose him, Elias said. And we'll build the Empire again, the right way. She looked at him with tired, honest eyes. Then prepare. They'll come for us. That night, a trusted servant entered the Queen's chambers. She bowed, but her hand shook. Your Majesty, forgive me. Before the Queen could react, the servant pulled out a tiny glowing device, a biobomb. But the Queen was faster. She struck the woman down, pressing a sharp talon into the floor. The device rolled free. Who sent you? Xelvara asked, breath sharp. He's one of yours, the servant cried. A blood counselor. He said the child will bring ruin. Xelvara stepped back, rage boiling. Then they've already infiltrated the inner court. The next day she made a choice. She and Elias disappeared. No public broadcasts. No appearances. They went underground, literally. Beneath the royal palace was a labyrinth of ancient tunnels, used during the Star Plague centuries ago. Only a few knew they existed. In those tunnels guarded by loyalists, Xelvara waited, and prepared to give birth. Above ground, chaos grew, rumors spread. The Queen has fled. She's dead. The child was fake. Ralkan saw the moment to strike. He gathered armies, ships, mercenaries. In the name of the bloodline, he declared the throne empty. We take the palace in 3 days, he roared, and cleanse it forever. Deep in the tunnels, Elias held the Queen's hand as she lay on a smooth stone table, body trembling. The time had come. Sacred healers, trusted aliens sworn to her family, surrounded her. They chanted softly, guiding her breath. She screamed. Pain was more than she had ever known, not from the child, but from the fear. Fear that if anything happened now, all would be lost, Elias whispered to her. You've faced warships without blinking. You've silenced armies with one word. This is the most powerful thing you will ever do. She looked at him, then gritted her teeth, and pushed. Outside, as dawn approached, rebel ships entered the capital's atmosphere. Citizens watched in silence. Some locked their doors. Others lit candles in windows. Quiet signs of loyalty to the missing Queen. And in the tunnels, a cry, not of war, but of life. The child had come, a baby boy, small, silver-skinned, glowing veins like stardust, and eyes, dark brown, human eyes. Elias held him close, tears falling silently. Xelvara, breath weak but alive, reached out and touched her son. He's beautiful, she whispered, and dangerous. So was his mother, Elias said with a smile. She laughed once, then winced, but she was alive, and so was the future. Above them, the palace was about to fall. But below, in the dark, hope had been born, and it would rise soon, the rise of the hybrid prince. The cry of the newborn prince echoed through the ancient tunnels. In that dark, hidden place beneath the palace, where once plague victims were buried, a new kind of life had arrived. Not just a child, but a symbol, half human, half alien, born of bloodlines that had once sworn to destroy each other. Elias stood with the child in his arms, his son. The boy's eyes, wide and curious, reflected silver torchlight. But behind that innocent stare was something no one could name yet, something ancient and powerful. Queen Zelvara lay weak on the stone table, her strength drained. But she smiled as she watched them. "He carries both our worlds," she whispered. "And he will be hated by both, until he makes them bow," Elias said quietly. Above them, chaos burned. General Ralkan's rebel fleet hovered above the capital, casting dark shadows over the city. Streets were locked down, citizens were forced indoors, royal statues were pulled down by angry mobs controlled by rebel soldiers. "The Queen has vanished," Ralkan declared in every broadcast. "She has abandoned you, to carry a cursed child." He stood at the steps of the palace, wrapped in stolen gold robes, claiming the throne. But his rule was a lie, and some had already begun to doubt it. Inside the palace, not everyone had betrayed. The Queen, 3 loyal guards, part of her personal wing, hid in a chamber under the main tower. Their leader, Captain Yura, watched the skies through a cracked skylight. "She's alive," she said. "I feel it." "But where?" Another asked. "She's under us," Yura whispered, "and when she rises again, we'll be ready." In the tunnels, the Queen recovered slowly, but her mind never rested. "We can't stay hidden," she told Elias. "They think they've already won." "You need rest," Elias said, holding the child gently. "Rest won't protect him. Or us. We must show them that the child lives, that the prophecy is real, and that I will fight for him." She stood, trembling but fierce. A message was sent, through secret channels, trusted spies, and loyal nobles. It reached the edge of the empire in one night. The Queen was alive. The child had been born, and soon he would be seen. Within the next 2 days, 12 underground loyalist cells reactivated across the capital. Statues of the Queen were painted with silver paint, messages carved in hidden walls. "The heir lives. The throne is not yours. Watch the skies." Ralkan grew paranoid. He arrested his own commanders. He banned mention of the Queen's name. And still, the resistance grew. On the 8th, day after the prince's birth, a signal was sent from deep underground, an old broadcast system, rarely used. But every screen in the empire turned on, and the Queen appeared, her face pale but proud, her silver eyes glowing, and in her arms, the child, the hybrid prince. She spoke only one sentence. "This is my son, and no throne stands unless he stands above it." Then the screen went black. The empire shook. Across starships, temples, and colonies, people whispered the same name, the hybrid prince. The streets once ruled by fear lit up with silent defiance. Food was delivered through underground networks. Rebel patrols were attacked by shadows. And palace couriers began to vanish. The people had chosen. In the secret temple of the old order, the high priest slammed his staff on the ground. "The prophecy has begun," he shouted. "She has lit the flame. We must destroy it before it burns everything." Ralkan nodded grimly. "Then we march underground. We kill the Queen, the human, and the child. No bloodline, no prophecy." The attack came at midnight. Ralkan's assassins dropped into the tunnels. Fast, silent, deadly. They carried weapons meant to silence hearts instantly. No wounds, no sound, no trace. But they were expected. Elias, dressed in black armor forged, in secret by loyalists, met them in the first tunnel bend. He struck first, fast and clean. He didn't kill out of hatred. He killed for his son. The Queen stood behind him carrying the child. Her old strength returned. Her wings spread wide, glowing with silver power inherited from generations of royal warriors. Beside her, loyal guards rose from the shadows. Battle filled the tunnels. Stone cracked, blades flashed, and when it was over, Ralkan's elite were dead. The Queen stood at the center of the blood-soaked tunnel. "This is no longer hiding," she said. "This is war." The next morning, the skies over the capital changed. Dozens of small ships appeared, all bearing the Queen's mark. They did not fire. They dropped light. Light messages. Holograms of the Queen and the Prince. On every building, every street corner, the people saw him. the newborn child of two worlds, the hybrid prince. And for the first time in weeks, people came outside without fear. They knelt. Not in terror, but in loyalty. Ralkan watched from the palace. They kneel. For a child, he whispered. The high priest behind him whispered, "This isn't just a child, it's the future, and the future does not kneel to us." In the queen's new stronghold, far below the city, Elias held his son in one hand and a war map in the other. The queen stood beside him, her hand on his shoulder. "They called him a mistake," she said. Elias smiled. "Then let them make way for the greatest mistake in history." The queen looked out the window where her people were waiting. "We rise at dawn, the coronation of two worlds." The twin suns rose over the capital of Zintheria, but the sky was not gold. It was red, and not from light. From war, above the royal palace, black rebel warships hovered, casting long shadows over the courtyards below. Thousands of soldiers, cloned, conditioned, cruel, marched through the streets under Ralkan's command. His voice echoed from towers and floating drones. "The queen is dead. Her blood is poison. Surrender your loyalty, or be destroyed." But deep beneath the surface, in tunnels filled with banners, lights, and firelight, the true queen stood tall, not in hiding, not in fear, in armor. Queen Zelvara wore a silver chestplate, engraved with ancient symbols of her house. Her wings were wrapped in living metal, and strapped across her back was the royal blade that hadn't been drawn in over 100 years, the Fang of Origin. Beside her stood Elias, wrapped in obsidian, armor designed from both human and alien tech. On his chest was the new symbol, a hybrid star, half circle, half flame, and in the arms of a guardian behind them, protected by layers of shields and tech, was the prince, the child of prophecy. "This is not just a battle for power," Zelvara said to her army. "This is a war for the future." "They want to erase him," Elias added, "because he is proof that we don't need their rules anymore." The soldiers roared, the people roared, and then they rose. The battle above ground began at the midday hour. From the cracks in the city, secret troops poured out. Men, women, aliens of every caste and class. Commoners who had sworn to protect the child. Scientists who had built weapons in the shadows. Even exiles returned for one last chance at redemption. Zelvara led the charge through the palace gates herself. Her wings burned with light. Her voice echoed through the city like thunder. "I am queen. I am mother. And I have returned." Ralkan stood at the throne watching the chaos. Behind him the high priest trembled. "You said she wouldn't rise again," Ralkan growled. "She was dead in the stars," the priest replied, "but he brought her back." "The child?" The priest nodded. "He is not just born of prophecy," he whispered. "He is the prophecy." Ralkan drew his blade. "Then let's kill fate." The queen broke through the palace doors. Elias stood behind her, fending off attackers from every side. He was faster than before, stronger. His body carried scars from weeks of pain, but his mind burned with clarity. He fought not for glory, not even for revenge, but for the child who watched it all. At the top of the tower, the throne room burned. Ralkan waited at its center, surrounded by fire and shattered stone. He held the fang of betrayal, a cursed weapon stolen from the old vaults. "You think love can win this?" he sneered. "A human seed and a queen's weakness?" Zelvara stepped forward. "I think it already has." They clashed. The blades screamed, sparks flew, wing against steel, queen against traitor. Elias reached the top moments later, just in time to see her fall. She hit the stone hard, blood on her armor. Ralkan raised his weapon, but Elias didn't hesitate. He charged, no fear, no doubt. With one strike, he shattered Ralkan's blade. With the second, he knocked him to the ground. With the third, he pressed his blade to the traitor's throat. But he didn't kill him. Zelvara rose behind them. "You will live," she told Ralkan, "and watch the Empire be reborn without you." 3 days later, the skies cleared, the ships retreated, the war was over, and the Empire was watching. The coronation was unlike anything in the Empire's history. For the first time, the event was held not in the throne hall, but outside under the twin suns where anyone, poor or noble, could attend. Alien banners from 100 worlds flew together. People cried openly. The queen stood in ceremonial robes. No crown, no armor, only truth. Elias stood beside her in white robes holding the child. The crowd quieted as the priest of the new order stepped forward. By flame, by star, by blood that was not meant to mix, he said, we now crown not just a ruler, but a new world. He turned to the child. Do you name him? Silvara stepped forward. His name is a bond, she said. His first name is from his father's world, his last from mine. She looked at Elias. He nodded. Together, they spoke. This is Prince Kaival Elias of House Exil, heir of 2 worlds. The crowd erupted in cheers, fireworks shot through the sky, and for the first time in the galaxy's long memory, humans and aliens stood together, not as enemies, not as invaders, but as family. That night, the queen stood alone on the balcony of her rebuilt palace, the stars reflecting in her eyes. Elias joined her, the baby asleep in his arms. He will face trials we never imagined, she said. But he'll never be alone, Elias replied. She turned to him. Do you regret it? Any of this? He smiled. Only that I didn't find you sooner. They looked out at the stars, at peace for now, but both knew. This was only the beginning. Final words on screen for your YouTube video ending suggestion. She laughed at the thought of bearing a human's heir. Now their child wears the crown of 2 galaxies.